Hey, I want to go over a couple of things that help you maximize your performance in a 5K. And if you're a coach, the performance of your athletes. So, several things I just want to point out. And I'm speaking from 2 decades plus experience as a former competitive runner and a coach. And these are things that I emphasize and encourage my athletes to do on a regular basis. It's obviously up to them to decide whether they want to do that. As I'm a post-collegiate coach now, I do a lot of online coaching as well. But setting them up in a way to help them maximize their benefit and their performance is of key importance. And how you sequentially lay out the training is also of importance. So let's go over a couple of things, obviously. Number one is a consistent pattern of training. So 2 hard sessions per week, okay? Whether one's long and the other one's short, or depending on what your philosophy and your training systems are, or what you believe in, 2 hard sessions a week are important. And if they race, 1 hard session in a race. Okay, but going on a consistent pattern of going hard twice a week is very beneficial and very important. So, number 2 is developing a long run at some point, whether it's every 7 days or every 14 days or whatnot, but building up a long run that should be at some point anywhere between 20 to 30% of your weekly mileage. And when the mileage is shorter, then it could be a little bit longer. So if you run 30 miles a week, no more than 8 miles. If you run a 40 a week, no more than 10, which is still 25%. As you get up to kind of 50, you can go up to 11 and 12 at 60. It should be no less than 12 at that point, in which case you're hitting the 20% of the weekly mileage barrier. Okay? And also mileage per day is another thing. So if you're running 60 one week, but you have an off day every other week, okay, that doesn't mean run 60 the following week, which can throw athletes off of rhythm. Don't add mileage to the following week. Okay? The average should still be the same. So if it's 60 in 7 days, which is a little under 9 miles per day, it should be no more, bugs, it should be no more than average that the following week, so which will alter the weekly mileage, right? So something to keep in mind as well. And also speed development. Want to make sure that your athletes are getting in mile training or mile pace training, 3K pace training, which can help not only determine their current fitness when they test themselves at a mile, or if you test them at a mile, but it'll give you an idea of where they stand for 3K and 5K. And on the flip side, building up towards a 20-minute tempo run is also important. Okay, how do they do that? I don't necessarily recommend people just going out and trying to run 20 minutes and then see where they stand. Because at that point, you want to have them in the right training pace ranges, right? After you test them at a mile, which is something I encourage all coaches and athletes to do at some point. After a significant base training or sufficient base training program of 6 to 10 weeks, but 8 weeks being a sweet spot, which will give you a good idea of their current fitness. But training in the right pace ranges is really, really important so that people are training in their current fitness zones, and it's not, it's minimizing their performance of getting sick or injured or both. So it's just something to keep in mind. But that tempo, I actually have a video out on this channel, so make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet, if you're a coach or an athlete. It's called How to Build Towards a 20-Minute Tempo. I do it in 6 pieces, okay, over an extended period of time. So if this is new and you're building people's foundation long term, it's a good idea to not only obviously do a base training plan first, and you start to incorporate strides and a couple other things, but at some point starting to incorporate a tempo run. And I'll give you a quick idea how to do it. First time I do it, let's just say it's every other week. 2 times 6 minutes the first time, 2 weeks later, then you combine them for 12 minutes. Then 2 times 8 minutes, 2 weeks later, combine them for 16 minutes, that's the 4th. Then 2 times 10 minutes, 2 weeks later, and then 20 minutes consecutively at the end. So you've taken 11 or 12 weeks and built towards a 20-minute tempo run, all at the same pace. You're just adding volume or tightening them together at the right pace ranges. So there's a lot of different ways you can show improvement or get fitter, and this is one of the ways to do it. Instead of trying to run the 20-minute right away and only get through a part of it, this is a way of building it within the right pace ranges to make sure your athletes are staying healthy, okay? And that's key if you want, especially for short-term and long-term progression. So that tempo, the speed development, consistent pattern, building towards a long run, okay? And running the day before and running the day after a hard workout or a race is key. Also to keep your legs in rhythm, to keep their legs in rhythm, okay? I can't emphasize that enough either. And if you're going to build towards tempo, it's important to start incorporate threshold training too. Take a look at my 5K training programs, and I've got sub 20 all the way down to sub 14 minutes, okay, on my channel. And you'll see how everything's laid out in blocks of 3 to 4 weeks to allow the athletes to adapt, to allow you to adapt. Okay, but these are essentially the meat and potato pieces that I wanted to talk about in incorporating. And if you haven't been incorporating these things, it might be a good idea to consider. And again, it's your decision as a coach or an athlete, but I incorporate all these things in my training programs. So, and they work for people. And again, there's some individualization within everybody's training too. Everybody has needs that other people don't, and vice versa. So individualizing components of the training is also important when you feel it's needed. So, because again, if you have 10 people and they're all doing the same thing, they're not all going to respond the same way. They're not all going to improve the same way. So individualization is also important. So I wanted to point these things out for you. If you have any other questions, directly reach out to me at blackbeltrunningcoach@gmail.com. But I encourage you to take a look at my training programs, whether it be middle distance, 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon. There's a method to the madness, and it's an adaptation cycle for everybody. So, and what that does is it makes sure that they're running their best when it counts the most, and not doing too much too soon and then peaking, or running their best 4 to 6 weeks too soon, 4 to 6 weeks early. Because that's what you want to avoid, right? So periodization and adaptation is just as important as all these other things. That's why I mentioned sequential. What to put here, what to put there, what to put here, when and why, and being able to understand and explain it. So, again, if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm happy to help. And please subscribe to the channel if you're a runner or a coach. I've got 300 plus videos here for free for you. And I'm going to continue padding these videos, and I want you to get the benefit from them. And all it takes is subscribing to the channel and recommend it to other runners and coaches who you think might benefit from a lot of valuable free content. And again, I use these programs on my athletes with success, with individualization components in there as well. But I wanted to share this stuff with you because I want to help as many folks in the running community as I can. But train hard, train smart, communicate well, athlete and coach, and I'll talk to you next time.